Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to picture a town and not, a bustling city center or even a sprawling suburb.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to picture a place so small that if you were fiddling with the radio dial while driving through, you'd probably miss the entire thing before you found a station.
We are talking tiny. Fewer than 700 residents.
Exactly. Fewer than 700 people. It's a place called Dobbins Heights, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And usually when you look at a map this small, the story is about what's not there.
Right. No big industry, no big box stores.
Maybe a shrinking population.
Yeah.
But the document we're diving into today, this proposal titled Reimagining Dobbins Heights, flips that narrative on its head completely.
It really does. It frames this tiny community not as a deficit, but as an untapped jewel, which I admit is a bold opening gambit, given the statistics we're about to discuss.
It is audacious. That's why I was hooked immediately. We are looking at a plan to take a community grappling with intense poverty. We're talking 40% and transform it.
And not just with wishful thinking.
No, with a combination of deep-rooted faith, serious local grit, and get this, Harvard-level economic theory.
It sounds like a contradiction in terms, doesn't it? Rural North Carolina and Harvard economic frameworks.
Right.
But that is exactly what makes this deep dive so fascinating. The mission here is to move a town from crisis response to long-term transformation.
And we hear those words a lot in the nonprofit world, transformation, synergy. But this document actually lays out a blueprint.
A real plan.
It's a partnership between a historic local church and a socio-economic development fund. And honestly, it reads less like a charity request and more like a venture capital pitch deck for a startup.
That's a great way to put it. But before we get to the solution, which is genuinely innovative, we have to ground ourselves in the reality of Dobbins Heights.
Yeah.
You can't appreciate the untapped jewel metaphor until you wipe away the dust and see the raw numbers.
And the numbers are tough. Let's be real. The median household income is hovering around $21,000.
Which, for context, is below the federal poverty line for a family of 3.
Right. And you have nearly half the residents either uninsured or relying on Medicaid. But the stat that really hit me in the gut was the commute trap.
That is a structural killer. The document highlights that because there are almost no jobs within the town limits, residents who do work are commuting an average of 40 minutes.
Just to find employment outside the county.
Yeah.
Think about the math on that for a second. If you are making $21,000 a year, you are likely working an hourly job, maybe minimum wage, maybe a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You are driving 80 minutes round trip every single day. That is gas money you don't have. That is wear and tear on a car that cannot break down, because if it does, you lose your job.
And it's time. That is 80 minutes a day you aren't spending with your kids or resting or learning a new skill. It is a cycle that keeps people running in place.
However, and here's where it gets really interesting, if you just look at the poverty stats, you miss the personality of this place.
Absolutely.
This isn't a sad story town. The history section of this proposal paints a picture of a community that is incredibly scrappy.
Scrappy is the perfect word. This town was formerly known as North Yard. And historically, it was ignored by the surrounding municipal powers.
They didn't even have streetlights.
Correct. In the 1960s, North Yard was in the dark. But did they sit around and wait for the county to show up?
No.
No. They formed the North Yard Improvement Association and organized specifically to get streetlights installed.
And that energy just kept going. I love the story about the park. In the 70s, they wanted a recreation area. No one was building it for them. So who do they call?
Not the county.
The U.S. Army.
They partnered with Army engineers to get it built. It's brilliant.
And then, when they needed fire protection and emergency services weren't coming,
they started their own volunteer fire department.
It's just, wow.
This is the crucial context for everything that follows. In sociology, we talk about social capital. You might look at Dobbins Heights and see low financial capital, not much money in the bank. But they have immense social capital. They have a history of mobilizing, of trusting each other, and of doing it themselves when the system fails them.
They even voted to incorporate as a town in 1984 just to legally secure better streets. So this is a town with a backbone.
For sure.
But the proposal is honest about one thing. Social capital can build a park, and it can start a volunteer fire department, but can it fix a broken local economy?
That is the wall they've hit. Bootstraps are great, but you need boots, and you need a floor to stand on. And that brings us to the catalyst of this new plan.
The Anger Institution.
The Pemberton Temple Church of God in Christ.
Founded in 1929. And again, let's check our assumptions. This isn't a mega church with a jumbotron and a coffee shop in the lobby.
No, we are talking about a congregation of roughly 100 active members, led by Reverend Charles Quick.
But look at the list of what this tiny group has been doing. It's exhausting just reading it.
They are punching way above their weight. They are effectively the social safety net for the entire area.
I mean, family stabilization, work helping domestic violence victims find safety.
And they've been doing massive food distribution.
Partnering with Sandhills Agnivation for organic food, right?
Yes. And working with Matthew 25 Ministries to bring in truckloads of furniture, hygiene supplies, toys. They even served as a refuge for students during crises.
So they are doing the work, they're feeding the hungry and clothing the poor, but, and this is the pivot point of the whole episode, the proposal acknowledges that all of this is Band-Aid work.
And that is a brave admission for a faith-based organization. It is easy to feel good about handing out food. It is harder to admit that the person you just fed is going to be hungry again tomorrow.
Because the structural problems haven't changed.
Exactly. They realized they were stopping the bleeding, but they weren't healing the wound.
So they want a cure. They want to change the trajectory. And the mechanism for that cure is something they call the Thrive Innovation Hub.
The Thrive Innovation Hub.
Yeah, I have to be the skeptic for a second. Innovation Hub sounds like corporate speak.
It does.
It sounds like something you'd find in a gentrified neighborhood in San Francisco, full of tech bros drinking kombucha. What does an innovation hub look like in a town of 700 people in rural North Carolina?
It's a valid question. But the hub described here isn't just a co-working space. It is designed as a holistic ecosystem.
Okay.
And this is where the expert analysis comes in. Usually when society tries to fix poverty, we work in silos.
Right. If you need a job, you go to the employment office. If you're sick, you go to the clinic. If you're hungry, you go to the pantry. And none of those places talk to each other.
Exactly. And usually, if you are poor, you don't have the gas money to drive to all three. The Thrive Hub operates on the whole person approach.
What does that mean in practice?
Well, the core engine is entrepreneurship. They want to train people to start businesses. But they recognize a fundamental truth. You cannot be a successful entrepreneur if you are traumatized or hungry or if you have no one to watch your kids.
So it's all under one roof.
Conceptually, yes. The hub integrates mental and behavioral health services, access to healthy food, community gardens, childcare, and transportation solutions alongside the business training.
It's treating the human being, not just the bank account.
Exactly.
Because you can't focus on a spreadsheet if you're worried about where your next meal's coming from.
Precisely. And this strategy isn't just something they guessed at. This is where the partnership with Martin Sloane International, MSI, comes into play.
It's the Harvard part of the equation I teased earlier.
Right. MSI is a socio-economic development firm focused on systems-level change. They came in and did the heavy lifting on the data. They identified 14 structural inhibitors and 9 core enablers.
Which sounds very academic.
It is data-driven. But the most compelling part of their framework is how they utilize the research of Dr. Raj Chetty.
Oh, Raj Chetty's a big deal. He's the Harvard economist who basically mapped the geography of upward mobility in America.
He is the authority on why some poor kids make it out and others don't. He analyzed data from over 50 million individuals.
Wow.
And his key finding, the aha moment for this project, is that upward mobility isn't just about how hard you work or how much you want it. It is driven by proximity.
Proximity to what?
Proximity to success, access, trusted relationships. He calls it economic connectedness.
So basically, if you grow up in a neighborhood where you never meet a lawyer, you never meet a banker, you never meet a business owner.
You probably aren't going to become one. Exactly. You can't be what you can't see.
And you can't get help.
More importantly, you can't get a loan if you don't know a banker. You can't incorporate if you don't know an attorney. In high-poverty areas like Dobbins Heights, that network is completely severed.
So the hub is trying to artificially engineer that network.
Operationalize is the word. They want to use the hub to put residents in the same room as bankers, attorneys, and successful entrepreneurs. It's about exposure to success. They're trying to build the social bridges that wealthier communities take for granted.
That is such a powerful concept. It's not just, here's a textbook on business. It's, here's a person who runs a business, and now they are your mentor.
Correct.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts. The proposal breaks this down into 5 specific challenges and 5 solutions. I want to run through these because they show exactly how this holistic thing works in practice.
Let's do it.
Okay, challenge number 1, poverty and opportunity. The problem is simple: no jobs.
And the solution is a mindset shift. Instead of waiting for a factory to open, which, let's be honest, probably isn't coming, they are training residents to create their own jobs.
An entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes, to generate local employment from the ground up.
Which leads directly to challenge number 2, business sustainability. We know small businesses fail all the time. How do they stop these new businesses from going under in 6 months?
This goes back to that proximity concept. The solution is hands-on coaching from professionals.
Yeah.
But there is a beautiful detail here that I absolutely love: reciprocity.
Oh, I highlighted that too. Tell us about the mentorship requirement.
So each entrepreneur who gets help from the hub, who gets that coaching and capital, commits to mentoring a youth in the community in return.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
It immediately builds the ladder for the next generation. It stops the brain drain where people succeed and then leave town.
Right.
You're baking the success back into the community.
Exactly. It creates a cycle of reinvestment.
Okay, challenge number 3, health. We talked about the food issues and the stress.
Right. The solution here connects back to the land. Gardening, education, and exercise classes. They are building on the partnership with Sandhills Agnovation.
It's not just giving out food. It's teaching people to grow it.
And it's valuing physical health as a component of economic readiness.
Challenge number 4, civic engagement. The document implies that for a long time, decisions have been made for the town, not with it.
And that leads to apathy and distrust. The solution is structured forums. The hub becomes a place where residents and officials sit at the same table.
Forces accountability.
It forces accountability and turns residents from passive recipients into active participants in their governance.
And finally, challenge number 5, networks.
Which is the youth component. The solution is direct engagement to demystify success. If a kid in Dobbins Heights sees a business owner who looks like them, talks like them, and comes from where they come from,
Suddenly that path feels real. It changes the horizon of what's possible.
Exactly.
Now, I'm listening to all this, and I'm nodding along, but there's an elephant in the room. And that elephant is money. This isn't cheap. And usually when a small town asks for money, the pitch is charity. It's please help us, we are suffering.
True. That is the standard grant application.
But this document takes a totally different tone. It doesn't sound like a plea for help. It sounds like an investment prospectus.
It certainly does. And this is a crucial strategy for modern social development. They frame this as value creation and cost savings.
In ROI.
They're arguing that this is an investment with a return on investment in ROI.
They actually list out the savings item by item, which I found really smart.
It is very smart. Look at public assistance. If you help a family create income through a small business, they stop needing SNIP benefits. They stop needing housing subsidies.
That is a direct dollar-for-dollar saving to the taxpayer.
A huge one.
And healthcare costs. That has to be massive.
Huge savings. If you have preventive health programs, gardens, exercise, stress management, you lower the rates of chronic illness like diabetes and hypertension.
And you reduce those incredibly expensive emergency room visits.
Which end up being paid for by Medicaid or written off by the hospital.
They even mention criminal justice.
Yes. Economic opportunity is the absolute best crime prevention. If you reduce recidivism, if you keep young people on a positive track because they have mentors and jobs, you are saving the system tens of thousands of dollars.
In law enforcement, court costs, incarceration.
All of it.
And then there's the upside, the tax base.
Right. New businesses pay sales tax. They pay property tax. It strengthens the municipal budget so the town can eventually afford to maintain its own infrastructure.
Without needing a bake sale or a volunteer drive to do it.
Exactly.
So the argument is basically, you can pay for the crisis later, police, ER visits, welfare, or you can pay for the solution now, which is the hub.
It is the difference between reactive spending, fixing things after they break, and proactive investment building resilience so they don't break in the first place.
It's incredibly compelling. You know, reading through Reimagining Dobbins Heights, I kept thinking about how easy it is to write off these little towns. You see the stats, you see the population decline, and you think, well, that's just globalization. That's just how the modern economy works. Small towns die.
We assume their decline is inevitable. We assume the only future is in megacities.
But this proposal refuses to accept that premise. It's stubborn in the best possible way.
And that is what is so important about this model. It isn't relying on a savior from the outside, a billionaire or a government agency to come in and fix everything.
Right.
It is the community itself, the church, the residents saying, we have the vision, we have the will, we just need the partners.
It's a synthesis. You have the granular local knowledge, Reverend Quick, knowing exactly who needs help, who the leaders are, who the grandmothers are.
combined with the high-level expertise of firms like MSI and the data of Roche Chetty.
And if it works in Dobbins Heights?
That is the proof of concept. The document explicitly says this is not just an experiment, it is a scalable model.
That's the big takeaway for me. Reimagining Dobbins Heights is about a small town refusing to be defined by its statistics. They are using their anchor institution and this data-driven hub to rebuild from the inside out.
And doing it in a way that respects the dignity and the history of the people who live there.
So here's the thought I want to leave you with today. We are conditioned to look to the giants for innovation. We look to New York or Silicon Valley or London to solve big societal problems like poverty.
We expect the solution to come from the top down.
Right. But here is a community of fewer than 700 people. They are integrating Harvard economic theory with local faith-based leadership to solve intergenerational poverty.
In a way that most big cities haven't figured out yet.
It raises a very provocative question.
It does.
If Dobbins Heights can develop a plan this sophisticated, this holistic, and this efficient, what excuse do larger, better-funded cities have for not doing the same? Why are we still using Band-Aids in billion-dollar cities when a tiny town in North Carolina is designing a cure?
It's a question worth asking.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.